You want to start us off this time?
Sure.
Okay. We are live on the Zoom. Yep, we're live now on Facebook.
Live on Facebook. Wow. Okay. Hey, folks, this is Kevin Cuccaro with the Change Physician Podcast with my fabulous co host, Dr. Melissa Cady. Thank you for joining us today on our Friday Faves. I haven't had a chance to share this, which I usually do. Try to push
Oh,
it
see,
out to all
that's
my
why I always
Facebook friends.
introduce, so you have time to do that.
That's exactly correct. So I can
Well,
actually do that.
well, while he's doing that, if you're listening on the Challenge Doctor, this is just cross-posted over from the Change Physician Facebook page. And if you don't know what the Change Physician is, you can go to thechangephysician.com, learn a little bit about us and what we're up to, and join the community, whether you're a physician or a physician ally. And you want me to keep going,
Keep
Kevin?
going. Keep going.
Okay. Well, this is our first Friday Faves back since the 2020 Friday Faves. We had done Monday Motivations. Our Friday Faves is something we really love it. It's one of our favorites, and it's kind of a
Rolls off the
gratitude.
tongue.
Yeah, yeah.
Rolls off the tongue.
Exactly. And so we love to share what recently was on our episodes and what's coming up, or any other little distractions or tangents we decide to fall into. But we're glad to see you here. We'd love any comments. You can reach out to us, whether it's here on Facebook, or you can touch base with us at thechangephysician.com. So as for the most recent episodes, I can tap into that unless you want to, Kevin.
Well, could you just remind me what I was just because we did the shift away from Monday motivations to
We
Friday faves. What was the last?
did.
I
So
remember.
our last Monday, well, the last actually our last Facebook Live was Monday Motivations was episode 89.
Episode
So you can
89.
yes,
Okay.
you could actually go listen to that again as we talked about the shift. Um, but then we ended up kind of doing a deeper dive into the prelude to season 2 of the Change Physician podcast, which will start up after that 100th episode that'll be releasing on June 6th. So we will shift to more of a personal development focus for our community, which can apply to just about any human being that lives on planet Earth. And let's see, we have today is the 7th. So we just had a release for our little chat together about what things really matter, which things really matter. And that was just talking about, we are quite a consumeristic society, and many physicians acquire many things, and talking about what things really matter. And we dove into a few aspects of that. So feel free to listen to that episode. We've got a couple things coming up. You want to talk about what wonderful chat we had today and with who? And
I want to talk about two things because the two things coming up is are you frugal or cheap, which is our discussion again
oh
that
yes.
kind of came out of that. Which things really matter? I really like that one.
Mhm.
To hear your words of wisdom in there and specifically about defining frugality versus cheapness. You guys have to go listen to the episode because I loved it. In fact, I think I kept bringing it up during the episode. I was like, I love this so much. What you
I
said
don't hear
about
that
that.
all the time from you. I was like totally taken off or thrown off.
I loved it. I loved it because it was just a beautiful statement on the difference between frugalness and cheapness.
It was
So
my own definition.
yeah, and it was awesome. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. And then after that episode, we have our returning guest, Dr. Eric Tate, the fabulous Dr. Tate, who has been a very frequent guest. And that's probably because we both want to
He's so
talk to him all
great.
the time. Yeah, and it was another good one because we in that particular episode we talked to Eric about where we're going next with a change physician, specifically on this personal development front. And that episode focused the start of it. We talk about sort of the pressures that we have in medicine and how sometimes it's just not how, oftentimes it's not how we envisioned it to be, and how that creates stress, and then sort of what we would recommend or what he would recommend around that, which moves into kind of learning about how you think about things, i.e. personal development. So that was a very fun episode. Always a great discussion to have with him. So really looking forward to those coming out. And I'm actually really looking forward to our future episodes. Uh, that was such a stimulating discussion.
Yep.
We had another episode talking about what we had talked about in that episode. And obviously I'm totally selfish, but I love personal reflection, self-reflection, figuring out meaning, purpose, et cetera, is extraordinarily important to me.
Yes.
And so I love talking about this. So you
Yeah.
guys better love talking about it too, because we're going to be doing a lot more of it. And I can guarantee if you just take some of these lessons, I don't care who you are, physician ally, if you hate physicians and you're just watching the show because you want to make fun of us, you will come away with
Bring it.
useful, some really useful information, because it is applicable to everyone, anywhere, at any time. And yeah, so really excited about that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we can talk about personal development a lot. It doesn't mean that just because we, talk about that it necessarily is easy work. It's a lot, as I say, the path inward, or the route from here to here is like the hardest, toughest job we have, at least from a lot of people's perspective in this world of personal development, is one of the most challenging, most difficult pieces of work that we do. It's easier to just do things on the outside, superficial things, but when it comes to the meaning and the purpose of life and these existential crises that we can have, which I know I can speak for myself, is definitely been in my 40s, definitely one of those challenges that I'm willing to take on. But it doesn't mean it comes easily, but it's definitely worthwhile, I think. So I hope that people pay attention to all these episodes that we'll have coming along, because really it's a matter of shifting perspective and understanding ourselves. And so that journey, I think, is incredibly valuable. So any other thoughts on that?
No, but I think we should, since it's Friday Faves, we're supposed to talk about our favorite things.
Yes.
And I always want to have that, what is it, the Sound of Music? These are a few of my favorite things. I always think that should be playing in the background when we get to
Well,
this.
you can play it on your phone while we're on the
You
live.
know, I think I could probably pipe that in. I just got to figure out how to do it. I'm not gonna be able to do it now. So let's talk about our favorite things. Or what are the three things that you pulled out of this week?
So does it have to be from the episodes, or can it be
Oh
from life?
no, this is life, man. This is, we are more than the change physician.
I let's see. Well, I really loved our episode because we did a recording today, and I thought that was very enjoyable from an episode standpoint, and just some reminders of actual things you can do to process and like those things you brought up on the deep, some of the deep dive you can hear on our episode. Um, but I'm actually really excited because I had a lot of transplants that I put into my garden beds, and so I've been focused on that, especially being home a lot this year, and not traveling as much has given me a little bit. I have a lot of gratitude for the time spent at home, as much as I love to travel. So that's kind of a fave as well. But the gardening excursions and journey of just trialing and experimenting. I have quite a few tomato plants and eggplants and peppers, and I decided there's this, and I'm just going to give a plug for this one website called So Exotic. That's SOW, soexotic.com. They have all edible plants. So super like fun. I like stuff that's functional edible. But I got this Okinawan spinach. I have a couple other longevity spinach, things that can like stay there for long periods of time, and you can actually get some nutritional value out of it. So um, I am working on how to like water these things on a more efficient way. So I'm working on the sprinkler systems, but I'm excited about putting those into my yard. So they've been
Well,
growing.
it's really off topic, but have you seen those like those hydroponic things? There's like at least
Yes.
three of them I've been watching advertised, and I always want to be a gardener, but
All the soil you don't want to deal with.
well, not even the soil. I think it's just the work. But and there's a lot of delayment of gratification. But I'm always fascinated to it, and I'm particularly fascinated with these systems now, where they have basically you plug it in as electronic water system, where there's a tub and then it cycles through like a hydroponics,
Mm-hmm.
and they look really. Of course, there's the ad that's gonna make it look really easy, but I'm like, oh my god, you can just grow your salad and you can harvest it, and from the video, it looks like it grows by the next day, which it obviously doesn't. But have you looked at those? Because I'm also about ease, right?
Yeah.
So anything that you can do that you set it up, like once you get the initial the investment in setting it up, then the harvesting should be easier. And there's a lot of them I would think that would be pretty easy, particularly where you are, either with your sunroom and things, with the, I mean, There's one that's like a
Possibly.
square frame, and there's these towery ones. It's
Yeah.
big.
I haven't, I'll have to see which ones you're looking at, but I had looked at it in the past, but I'd probably want it to be like not just this little thing.
Well, these are big. They're like towers. Like,
Yeah, I've seen the big ones. So
yeah.
I don't want to take up my space in my sunroom. I'd rather see if I can grow stuff on the outside. I might get someone to help me with just some of the maintenance and weeds and mulch and all this stuff from time to time if I, don't feel like doing it. But I don't mind the physical labor of it. That's what I think the beauty of gardening is that it makes you appreciate, speaking of faves, or having gratitude, is just the amazing capacity of nature. Like, and there's also parts of it I don't enjoy, like wasp and bee. I mean, bees are good for us, but I don't want to be stung. And I hate mosquitoes. I was out there for 10 minutes and I have 15 bites. I'm not no gratitude on my thighs and rear end that they all love to just take all my blood. So anyway, I don't feel like having like hypodermic needles, aka little flying needles, essentially, when I go outside. But I might be working on that. There's a mosquito thing you can do that's made they use chrysanthemums stuff that kills or wards off these mosquitoes. Apparently it's very effective. It's got the perthrins in it, I think. It's a naturally occurring perthrins. But anyway, so I'm grateful for all my plants. I think gardening is a great way to use your body, get some sunlight, a little vitamin D production, a little bit of movement, a little bit of variety of movement, and just exploring. I love watching things grow and how they do that. And it's an experiment too. It's a little bit of, you learn that things aren't always going to be successful. And then there's a lot of troubleshooting and figuring out, oh, this yellow leaf might mean there's not enough nitrogen, or, like it's a process. You're not going to know it all up front.
I certainly don't know any of it, so that's always good. And I'll be following.
I'm a novice still.
I'll be following peripherally through you. What's that called?
Live vicariously through.
I'm going to live vicariously through you because I still just haven't gotten up the effort. But yeah, someday. I always look at our backyard because we have a pretty big backyard and we live in Oregon. And so we can grow everything. And I'm like, man, if we just turn that into a farm, we could probably feed the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. Onions are like weeds. So one last thing, and then we got to go to yours. But I had bought too many onions, little onion bulbs ready to transplant before the big snow thing that happened. So I just put them in the garage, the ones I didn't have room to plant, or I just didn't want to plant anymore. And thank God I didn't use them all when I planted them, because they all died from the freeze. And so I went back in the garage and I took all the old ones out and replaced them with the new ones, and they're thriving. So
onions are good. I love onions.
I just go pull one or two fresh ones. They're not even fully like developed yet, but they're just like little mini onions, and that works great too.
Delicious.
Anyway.
Delicious. Onions, yeah. The unappreciated vegetable.
Maybe. I love it.
I love onions too.
Yeah. I used to hate them. Now I love them. Don't ask me. So what are your favorites?
My favorites. I actually have props today. So I have been sucked into doing Kickstarter or various type of things more than one time.
Yeah.
And so lessons learned from that. One, they're always late. Always. I've not been in one that has ever hit their time frame. Sure. Of them, I have to say, there's been some frustrations, probably because it takes so long. A couple of them were just so long. It's like, this is I can't believe I did this. And then I had one that was a total lemon that was awful. Like, this was a horrible investment. And it was supposed to be a birthday present for my son. So I still feel really bad about this. This thing just sucks. It was not even close to their little video that they showed. Yeah. And then the latest one I did was this thing called Skinners, which are like sock shoes. They're basically look like a sock with a firm bottom. So kind of typical to a minimalist shoe. Like if you're familiar with Vibram Five Fingers, or I have a pair of Merrells that are minimalist shoes. And I was like, these are cool because I'm like, I like minimalist shoes. And the second thing is, like, I'm always thinking from a travel perspective, not that we're traveling right now, but hopefully we'll travel soon. And you always want to have an extra pair of shoes, but I'm also a minimalist packer. Like, I don't like to bring a lot of stuff. I take a lot of pride in how I pack my bags. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get these Skinners, blah, blah, blah. And obviously they were late and they were delayed. And then I started seeing people getting their stuff in the review. Oh, they're too big. And I did your sizing chart and there's like all this space. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to suck. I got another total lemon here. But they arrived, and I'm proud to say here, I bought 2 pairs, and these are my Skinners. And there's the bottom, which have this rigid stuff, and you can fold them up. You can literally roll them
Oh,
up.
they're like ballet shoes.
Yeah, man. So these are like well, I guess man ballet. Do they wear ballet shoes? The men too?
Yeah, they have to have those little hard little things that can go in
Think
their
they
toes,
they
right?
have those? I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
guess.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. Anyway, are there maybe? Well, anyway, I got them, and the only person
They fit?
my family was, oh yeah, they fit. Like that's the other thing. They fit perfectly. I was so worried about it because they're like, oh, there's like half an inch or 2 inches of room, and you have a little bit, but you want because they recommend you put a pair of socks in, so it'll fit a thin pair of socks, which is a big deal to me because I hate sweaty feet. Like I always have to wear socks.
Yeah.
I personally think that wearing socks and sandals is way cool, so we should make it a thing because I hate not wearing socks. And yeah, and nobody else in my family was very excited about it. Like they're like, oh, those are kind of ugly. I'm like, no, these are super cool.
Yeah.
So I had to show my sister because she likes weird shoes and she totally appreciated it. So thanks, Catherine. That's
you
all
go.
I needed. My
Thanks.
external validation from my sister.
There you go.
Yeah, so that was my favorite thing. And then the other thing that I was thinking of as another favorite thing was actually I started thinking about the future of the podcast, and I got really excited and I started diagramming stuff.
Oh,
And
cute.
this doesn't look like a whole lot, but it basically every word took about 5 minutes, and it made me think. And then I had to delve into the etymology of some of these words because I always look for the roots. And I was thinking, Eric talked about this as like these fundamental truths, right? So I'm always trying, what's the fundamental truth?
Yeah.
And basically gave myself my brain started hurting and it sounds stupid, but it was fun. Like I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking so much, my brain is actually like, oh, this is so awesome. And so this was one of my favorite things. I was like, I have not done this in so long, like deep introspective thinking about complex things and trying to simplify them.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I was very pleased by that. Made my day. So that I had to bring it up. I'm like, I have to bring this up on
I
Friday.
saw a triangle in there.
I think in triangles.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna call you the triangle man. See, you wanted the triangle doctor.
triangle doctor. Yeah, that doesn't quite work, but
well.
but yeah, because everything when I think it moves into when you start moving beyond the sort of this idea of sequentialism, like cause and effect, which almost nothing works cause and effect. You're the game with the balls in the backyard. What does that go? I can't remember that. The backyard game with the balls where you take your ball and you smack another one and it shoots it off into the side. That's cause and effect. Yeah. But almost nothing else is. And so when you start thinking in a constructed fashion, which I originally think I learned the term constructed from, in this time frame, was from Lisa Feldman Barrett, who I've mentioned numerous times. You can't go back, and everything is like, and you start pulling about. So I think in triangles, and I talk about the pain triangle, but everything, like all these experiences are triangles. And then each of those triangles almost has a bigger triangle that you can almost expand it. And then you can reduce it into smaller and smaller versions of it. I guess almost like a fractal. And yeah, so that's just how I think now. I'm almost always like devising this stuff into pieces. Like what are the components? And
yeah, it's always more complex than our little linear tendencies.
They're always more complex, but we can generally simplify them into the universal truths or to universal pieces. Like what is the core? That's like that's what I would do when I'm thinking about this is like what are the core elements when you have reduced it to a place where if you reduce it any further, you have lost the concept, the idea, the purpose of it. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm trying to get in those and try to figure out what those roots are. And I do love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to tap into some of that later.
Well, that was for future episodes, so we'll.
Oh, there we go. Well, on that note, do you want to take us out since I kind of stole the beginning of the show?
Well, you're always so good at the beginning, and I appreciate it because then I can share it when I need to share it. So I'm all good with that now. But All right. Well, hey, everybody. This is the Change Physician Podcast. Again, I'm Dr. Kevin Cuccaro with my amazing co host, Dr. Melissa Cady. We are back to Friday Faves, which we will be doing for the next several months at a minimum. If you enjoy the Change Physician Podcast, you want to learn more about the episodes that we discuss here or join the community, go to thechangedphysician.com. Sign up there, whether you're a physician or physician ally. And we will see you on the podcast. And for sure, we will see you live next Friday on Friday Faves.
That's right. See you all then.